Hi, everybody. It's me, Jessica, your health fitness program manager from McLean, and I'm looking forward to guiding you through today's yin yoga practice, where we're going to work together to reduce overthinking. You got a minute to grab anything that you need and make your way over to your mat. I'm recommending today that you bring some blocks and a towel. Grabbing my towel right now. Once you have your props, let's meet on the floor in a kneeling position. All right. Man, we're officially starting. All right, so we're starting in kneeling position. If you find that you come into kneeling position to begin with, you might want to bring a prop underneath of your glutes. If you don't have a block today, you might even want to start with this towel. Sometimes placing a towel or even a rolled up sock as close as you can behind the bend in your knee can also help to create a little bit of extra space if the tightness that you might be feeling is in your knees. Awesome. We're going to hang out here for a little over 2 more minutes. I'm going to switch to use my block today. And if you want to open your knees a little bit wider, go for it. Start to really tune into your breath. Long, slow, deep exhales. Remember, throughout today's class, if your eyes are moving, your mind is moving. So find one spot to relax your eyes, relax your mind, and keep relaxing your breath. Halfway through, let's start to scan the body from the very top of your head, from your hair follicles, all the way down towards your toes. And notice if you're creating any extra tension that you can just relax and release. Maybe create extra shoulders away from your ears. Maybe you notice that you're overarching in your back, a slight tuck of the pelvis to create a stack of shoulders over hips. I'm using your hands as much as you need to for support. So hands in your lap, palms facing down for grounding, palms facing up for a little bit more receiving of all of the energy out there throughout the practice. Remember, it's normal to feel any shaking, trembling, or twitching. Some of today's postures might really feel tight or uncomfortable. Your challenge is to focus on your breath, to use your exhale to continue to create relaxation when and where is possible. And remember that practice is just like real life. There are many times in life when things get tough and are uncomfortable, and we can't just quit. So that's how we can use our time on the mat to also just help us take some deep breaths and to find our way through anything. If you're sitting on a block, you might want to lift yourself up off of a block. And if you're feeling really tight, you still might not be able to reach all the way back. So let's go ahead and even bring our blocks back towards the back of the feet. All right. So we're going to start reaching back, and you can have your hands on your block, on a prop, or you can stay kneeling with your glutes on your heels is a much easier way to get back. Here as we start to take a nice little ankle stretch. Try not to roll towards the pinky toes. So really pressing a little bit down through each of your toes. You can even maybe press your hips up, focus a little more on the stretch in your quads if things are feeling too tight in the legs. Otherwise, if you're okay with your glutes on your heels and your hands behind you, we're going to be here for one more minute. You can even work to lift your knees up off of the floor. Let's try and stay here with our knees up off of the floor. But if you're feeling so tight and that kind of felt good, you can always just kind of take it one at a time. Just work towards creating a little bit deeper of a stretch. All right, we've got a little more than 30 seconds to go. I'm going to come into something that I can just hold into the stretch. I know we're starting something really deep today. We're going to gently work our way back through the movement. So, really notice how you feel today in your quads, in your knees, in your ankles. Let's see how we feel a little closer to the end of class. If you lifted your knees up off of the floor, go ahead, bring your knees back down, start to walk your hands back forward. We're coming into tabletop. So hips stack on top of knees. Spread your fingers nice and wide under your chest. Start with a nice neutral tabletop. So pushing into your hands, palms, pressing into the pads of the fingers. Back is active. And then start your cat-cow leading with your hips. So hips start to tilt up towards the ceiling, chest comes forward towards the triceps, eyes, nose, chin, look up towards the ceiling for your cow, and take your time, still leading with your hips as you change the tilt in your pelvis and come into cat. You can move at whatever pace works for you. You can take a couple shimmies or shakes right here. We'll spend one more minute enjoying these cat cows. Excuse me. Great. On your next exhale, let's come back into kneeling. If you don't want to sit on your heels, you can always just actually be on your knees. Make a couple circles with your wrist in one direction. Make a couple circles with your wrist in your opposite direction. Go ahead, open and close your fists a few times. Let's take a nice active wrist stretch. So one hand forward, palm facing forward, flex your fingers back to your face. Hold it for just a couple breaths. Notice if you're rounded through your shoulders. I did. Can you lift through your chest, take a little engagement through your upper back, squeeze glutes, hips press forward, and then fingers down towards the floor of the same hand. And then let's switch to the opposite hand. Palm face forward, fingers flex towards your face, engage through your upper back. Try to eliminate that rounding through your chest and shoulders. And then fingers point down towards the floor. Just a little pressure onto the back of your hands. One more big inhale. Exhale, shake it up. All right. Next up, we're coming into a lunge. You might want to bring your blocks closer to the top of your mat. You can be as deep in this lunge as feels good for you. Bringing that right foot forward, we're going to at least be right here in a 90 degree stretch. Starting to press the sole of the foot down into the floor, pressing the back knee down into the floor, feeling that nice opening of the back leg hip. When you're squared right here, it's pretty easy to not allow your hips to jut out towards the side. If you take a generous step forward with your leg, sometimes you might find that whatever leg is forward, that your glutes start to stretch towards that side of the mat. So really squeeze in a little bit from your hips, pulling in towards each other. And if you're really rounding through your back right here, just like we did with our cow, think about bringing that chest a little bit more forward. We're going to be right here for 1 more minute. And if the floor feels too far away, simply place your hands on your thighs. And if this separation of the legs, remember, goes from being uncomfortable to being painful, you can always bring that front leg in a little bit and still be experiencing a delightful stretch through your hip and quad. So just find a noticeable stretch. That's all we're trying to do today. Next up, we're going to introduce a spine twist into this lunge. So right foot is still forward, left hand comes down towards the floor or your mat. Inhale, right arm up towards the ceiling. But as you inhaled your right arm up, did your right hip go out towards the side? You're still squeezing right glute, still pressing right foot into the floor. Eye gaze can be down, or you can challenge yourself a little extra twist. Look up towards the ceiling. Find what does work for you today. Eye gaze towards the floor can sometimes help with balance. Pressing the back knee down towards the floor. Top of the back toes are pressing into the mat. On your next inhale, keep reaching your right hand fingertips up towards the ceiling. We're going to reach them towards the back of the room, lift ourselves up so left hand fingertips come forward, right hand fingertips come towards the back of the room. Now look over your right shoulder. Just adding a little extra twist. Think about squeezing your inner thighs in towards each other, getting a little yang with our yin, creating a little bit of fire in the legs and the chest. Take one more big inhale. Exhale, cartwheel your hands back down towards the floor. Let's go ahead and walk your right leg forward. So walk or wiggle your right leg forward just a bit as we come into a hamstring stretch. And you can still use your blocks, checking what happened with your hips. Work to keep that left hip in line with your left heel, right toes flex back towards your face. Either lifting the chest or you found that forward hinge and then you can round down towards the floor. Focus back on your breath. Exhale to release tension. Let's go ahead, shift the weight back forward one more time. And then bring your right leg back to meet with your left. Take a moment. You can sit down. You can just be kneeling. Let's make some circles with our wrists again. Relax your hands. We're going to do the same couple of big hip hamstring openers on the other side. Just really working to create some space. All right, so start to bring your left foot forward. Remember, both sides of the body are not the same. So maybe on one side, you brought the leg significantly forward. And maybe on the other side, you're sticking with a little bit more 90-90 or the opposite. Great. You can stay right here, squeezing your back glute, pressing the front foot into the floor, feeling some amazing activation of the lower body by really making sure you're grounding. So we're not just like passively here on the floor and letting our hips dump out towards the side. We're really pressing down. Hips are gently pressing forward. Or maybe you're down here in a little bit more of a lunge. Remember, working to keep that right heel in line with right glute. So a little squeezing in of the inner thighs towards each other, taking the rounding out of your upper back. We're here for just a couple more breaths, a few, some more. All right, take your time. Slowly start to come into the twist. So left foot is forward, right hand comes down towards the floor or your block. Try not to let those hips shift towards the left side of the mat as you inhale, left arm up towards the ceiling. Remember, eye gaze can stay down towards the floor, or you can challenge yourself a little bit more challenging in the balance as you rotate to turn up towards the ceiling. We're here for a total of 1 minute, so just a couple more breaths. Really squeeze shoulder blades towards each other. Imagine the back of your left hand fingers touching the wall behind you. Keep stretching your left hand fingers. On your inhale, a little cartwheel, lift yourself up. Right hand fingers stretch forward, left hand fingers stretch back. Decompress shoulders away from ears. Big lift of your chest. If you want, you can look over your left shoulder. Ground, ground, ground the shin, the top of the foot, the sole of your left foot into the floor. 2 more breaths. Big inhale, lift and lengthen through the center. And then exhale, cartwheel hands down towards the floor. You can walk your blocks back to help assist you as you shimmy your left leg forward for a quick little hamstring stretch. Nice supported half splits. Make sure your Make sure your hips don't shift all the way to the right. And you can have your toe to the floor or flex it back towards your face, finding as much of a hinge as feels good for you today. All right, shift the weight forward for just a moment. And then let's bring those 2 legs back together. Working our way back into tabletop. Hands come down towards the floor. Open your knees as wide as you want, toes together. Send glutes back towards heels for some child's pose. If you want, you can even bring a block and place a block under your head. We got a nice long child's pose coming up here to really reset. If you want the most in your back and shoulders, tent your fingers and press the pads of the fingers into the floor. And if you want a little bit of less, go ahead, generously bend your elbows. We're going to spend 2 more full minutes right here. So make any last adjustments that you need. Work into creating that stillness and focus on the breath on the back side of the body. So every inhale, really feel and create space between the backside ribs. What is happening out there? And every exhale, relax. Sorry, it sounded like someone was at my second floor window trying to get inside. That makes me think of every vampire movie, and sorry, vampires, but I shall not invite you in. All right. If your hands are all the way forward, or if they've just moved away from being underneath of your chest and shoulders, go ahead, bring them back. Oops. Press yourself back up into a seated position. And next up, we have dragonfly. So we're going to open our legs nice and wide as feels comfortable for you. And starting off for our first minute here, if you're feeling really tight, maybe you bring your hands behind you. If the floor feels far away, you can bring your blocks behind you. If the back of your legs feel really tight, now's a good time to even take your towel and sit up on your towel for a little bit of a lift, just a teeny bit, less than the block provides, which can help to relax as well. We'll spend one more minute right here, nice and lifted with the chest, back slightly active. So we started class, the kneeling and the ankle stretching gets a little bit more into that spleen and stomach through some meridians and energy flows that go all the way down into our toes. The lunges and child's pose help to stimulate both the spleen and the kidney. And this separate leg stretching is getting a little bit more into the kidney and urinary tract, just in case you were curious. All right, we're gonna turn our fingers towards the right leg. If this is already enough of a stretch and twist for you, maybe you even bring your blocks in, place your hands on the block. If you want a little bit more, you can hinge forward, maybe even grab hold of your big toe. You can open up to create a twist if you want, or you can rotate towards your leg. We're going to be here for just 3 more breaths. Awesome. Carefully lift yourself up and then gently turn towards the opposite side. Try to still ground through your backside hip bone as you come into whatever version of the stretch feels good towards the other leg. Either hands on the floor. Maybe you still find a little twist, even if your fingers don't totally touch your toes, or you can go for that as extra, extra reach. They all feel good. I hope you feel the same way at home. Make sure you're still working to keep both sit bones ground. Pardon me. Take one more big inhale. Lift yourself up. Exhale back to center. This time, hands come towards center. Inhale, lift. Find that nice flat back. Maybe you stay right here, or maybe you start to walk yourself a little bit more forward. after you've already started to come forward with the flat back. If you want to take some rounding in your back, you're welcome to. Finishing out this separate leg stretching. About 3 more breaths. All right. If you hinge forward, sit yourself up, keeping the knees out a little bit wide. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together for some version of butterfly or bound angle. If there's nothing really helping to support your legs from pressing down towards the floor, go ahead, take your block. Maybe even apply a little bit of pressure of your hands onto the floor. Maybe you're even grabbing hold of your feet. You can use your elbows to help you take a little bit of an extra press. You can even think about using your hands like a bowl to hold on to your feet. Maybe even give yourself a little zipper toes, putting your fingers between each of your toes like you're holding your own little foot hand. Or just a little extra stimulation into some parts of the body that you might not really give a lot of touch or time to. Try to take the big rounding out of your back. So we're still working on finding that supported forward fold. And if that's not happening, take the rounding out. Come back to your lift, even if your hands come behind your hips. On your next exhale, go ahead, extend your legs out in front of you. Maybe take a moment, bob your knees, windshield wipe your feet. And then really check in with your posture, especially because we just had hands behind you. It's likely that your shoulders might be behind your hips. You're going to inhale, lift yourself up. And then maybe you use your hands to actually kind of pull your sit bones back a little bit, or you can walk uh, your seat mate back one glute at a time. So we're working towards taking a slight forward hinge. Still sitting up on your towel can help with that if the back of your legs are really tight. If you don't have a prop, taking a slight bend of your knees to help bring your belly to your thighs. We're just going to be here for 3 more breaths. So come into that stillness right now, wherever you are. Awesome. If you got the forward hinge, we're going to lift ourselves up and we're coming back into a kneeling position. All right. So next up, we've got saddle or half saddle. If you're really having some trouble right now with kneeling, we're once again going to bring the towel into play. I brought a super thick towel today. That was not like it's that was good. All right. So you're going to take that super thick towel if you need to, and you're going to place it right behind the crease of your legs. And you can open your knees nice and wide. And the idea is we're working to create a bowl with our feet for you to sit on. And if your glutes are coming nowhere near your heels, that's okay. You can always place your hands on the floor and just work to create a little bit of extra pressure, starting to gently walk your hands back. And eventually in the future, your glutes will be touching your heels and you will be touching your seat down towards the floor. And once you get there, you can bring one hand to your feet and maybe slowly work your way back down. Now, if you're still really trying this and struggling, like, no way, Jessica, then go ahead, bring one foot forward, and we're going to just work on creating this compression one side at a time. So I'm trying to get the top of the foot down to the floor, applying a little bit of pressure towards the glute, and then you can still go down and back, just like I instructed if you have both feet down on the floor. If you're all the way back, top of the head can touch down, back of the head. I'm just going to move away from the bird who is like, I will eat your face right now. So let's hang out here for 30 more seconds if you're doing a half saddle, or we're going to get another just over a minute if you're getting full saddle. Hey, Freddy Bird. Hey, Freddy Spaghetti. Do you want to say anything for the people? Whoop. No. So, all right. So if you got the half bind going, we're going to carefully lift ourselves up, swing one leg forward, I'm bringing the opposite foot back. And if you got the full bind going, just stay there. You got a couple more breaths to go. You don't have to go all the way down towards the floor. Maybe you're right here, just breathing through it. Maybe your foot hasn't even come all the way in towards the center of the body, and that's okay. You can have the knee out as wide as you need to. You get a nice stretch on or into the groin. If you are like a runner or you've had a lot of ankle injuries, this one is so great for we're temporarily cutting off some blood flow to the lower extremity by this deep bend in our knee. And then when we release the binds, so much fresh oxygenated blood is helping to just pass through, clear out any tension, clear out any stress. Like we're totally letting go of the negative thought that maybe you can't do it or whatever happened in the past. Get ready to feel it. Wish away. Awesome. So let's go ahead, send both legs out in front of you. Take your time. Lay yourself down on your back. Let's take a quick little savasana. So arms relaxed by your side. Heels in close to the center line, arms close, palms facing up, shoulders relaxed down on the mat. We'll spend 1 minute just breathing. Really check in. Do you feel any sort of tingling in your ankles, the top of your feet, your shins? Okay, a little wiggle of your fingers and toes. We're going to walk our legs in and come into knees to chest pose. Really glue your lower back, your tailbone to the mat as much as possible. And then both knees come up towards the chest. You can have your feet separate. You can squeeze your legs together. Keep your feet side by side though. And if you want, give yourself an awesome hug here. You can even really press lower back into the floor. Round up for a moment. See how much of your opposite arm you can grab. Maybe you are just grabbing at the fingertips. Maybe you can grab your opposite wrist. Maybe you can't bring them together at all. But you can squeeze your knees in towards each other, get a little extra pressure into the belly, pressing shoulders into the floor, back of the head down into the floor. And see if you can bring a smile to your face. Can you create a little extra space of shoulders away from your ears by engaging through your lats, through that outer edges of your back, and pulling the shoulder blades down more towards your lower ribs? One more big inhale. Exhale, carefully release, maybe 1 foot at a time, comes back down to the floor. Go ahead, extend your arms wide out to the side, press into the soles of the feet. We're rolling over to come into a spine twist. You might want to bring your block into the spine twist and place it between or under your legs. If it feels good, turning and twisting your head in the opposite direction of your knees, and still finding that engagement through the upper back. So shoulders don't creep up towards your ears, chest isn't really coming towards chin. You create extra space in your neck. You can even stretch your fingers to the walls on either side. One more minute here. Start that total body scan from head to toe. Take your time, carefully roll to your back, ground both feet into the floor, ground your lower back to the mat before we roll over to the opposite side. And now go ahead, press into the soles of the feet and bring your opposite side spine twist. Remember, you can use those blocks under or between your legs. You can stay really passive and keep looking in the same direction of your knees, or create that extra little bit of stretch looking over your other shoulder. Lots of room for deep breaths at the top of your chest and down to your diaphragm with your upper back gently engaged. A little more than 1 minute to go. Take your time, carefully roll to your back once more, round through your feet, place your lower back on the floor, and then extend your legs as we come into our final Savasana. Traditional Savasana encourages heels touching and toes fall open, arms staying close to the side of your body. So spend at least a couple breaths in this traditional Savasana if you can. And then make any adjustments that you need. If you want or need for your body today to open your arms or your legs wider, work to get as much of the top back of your head, neck, shoulders, upper back, middle back, low back, glutes, hamstrings, calves, heels to the floor as possible. Remember, Savasana is also a posture, and this is our time to allow our practice to really sink into our body and our mind to make permanent, lasting changes. We're reminding ourselves how to relax, what it feels like to be more open and encouraging our body, mind, body, and soul to be able to return to this amazing feeling. You are welcome and encouraged to stay here in this final savasana for as long as works for you. If you're staying on the floor, just keep breathing. If you want to sit up and close class out together, take a little wiggle of your fingers and your toes, and then take your time to make your way back to a seated position. I hope you already started to notice during Savasana how much easier it was to relax, how much lighter you might be feeling energetically, and how much quiet your body and mind might feel. All right, if you're in a seated position, ground through your sit bones. Inhale your arms all the way up overhead. Hands, palms come together, and then hands come down to heart center. Touching your chin to your chest, take a moment as you bow to and honor yourself. Think about one thing that you can be proud of that you've already accomplished today. I hope that there's many things that you find that you can be proud of yourself that you've already done or that you have set an intention to make happen. If you have any questions or concerns about anything I've said and we did, let me know. If you have a particular ache or pain that needs a stretch, I hope you'll share. Happy to put a class together to meet your personal needs. Till we are together again, remember to think good thoughts, speak good words, eat good foods, do good deeds, and take the time for yourself to nourish from the inside out. If it feels right, you can bring your thumb to your third eye, your drishti, and lift your heart and know that the light within me honors, sees, and is so thankful for the light within you. Keep shining, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and an amazing long weekend. Namaste.